He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. G.I. Joe, American hero, fighting evil Destro.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle. And welcome, my friends, to Main Character May. All this month, we're going to be focusing on just one character.
And, well, you've seen the title of this video, so you know it's gonna be Destro.
For today, we're going to be focusing on the figures from the original toy line.
So meet Destro version 1. This figure was released in 1983 with all original body parts. And it's unique in a number of ways.
Some obvious, some less so.
We'll start out with the thing that stands out the most by a mile. His head. He's got a shiny metal noggin. This reflective silver look was created using a process called vacuum metallizing. In a nutshell, an object, in this case the head mold, is placed in a near airless chamber where they pump in metal vapor, aluminium most of the time, that condenses on the head to make it shiny and chrome. By the way, this process is explained more clearly on the Transformers wiki than on the actual Wikipedia.
Figure that one out.
So yeah, this certainly made Destro stand out in 1983. If you knew nothing about G.I. Joe but saw this in the toy aisle at the time, you'd be forgiven for thinking he was some kind of robot or android, as he's got that weird 70s robot look going for him. But of course, we all know it's a mask. Still, this feature made it a quite popular toy.
It's not the only unique thing about him, though.
It's not immediately obvious when the figure is by itself, but he's actually a little bit taller than other G.I. Joe figures of the time, being closer to 4 inches instead of 3 3/4 inch. He shares this aspect with Sergeant Slaughter.
Anyway, on to the rest of the figure.
That is quite a look, isn't it? Yeah, subtlety isn't in Destro's vocabulary. The first thing that catches your eye is that magnificent plunging neckline that goes right down to the navel. To say nothing of the chain with a ruby and the collar. Under most circumstances, a predominantly black outfit with some red and silver would be subdued. But this is anything but. It's a bold look even without the mask.
The detailing is also impressive, especially for 1983.
The outfit has plenty of folds and creases, making it look more like real clothes, and his wrists are very well done, with mini missiles on one and I think darts on the other. With all that, you'd almost forget his holster or the microphone on his jacket. The only bit of criticism I have, and it's very minor, is that he doesn't have colored eyes, adding to that robotic look. Though, due to the way the vac metallizing process worked, this would have been difficult to add after the fact, especially in 1983.
It's not a big deal.
Destro came with 2 accessories. A gun that's quite small and easy to lose, so good luck finding it almost 40 years later, and a backpack that opens up to reveal molded weapons. It looks really nice and has great detailing, but the stuff inside is too small to resemble actual accessories. Also, you can tell this backpack is supposed to double as a briefcase, but they really should have added a handle to it for that look. Overall, this is just a great figure and at the time a unique addition to the toy line. I like to believe it helped G.I. Joe stand out just a little bit more in the toy stores way back then. I really dig this look, but I can understand how it could be an acquired taste at best for others. Given what an important character this was, a second figure for Destro was inevitable.
But did it live up to the original? Yes it did.
So meet Destro version 2. This figure was released in 1988 with all original body parts and is also known as Iron Grenadier's Destro. And once again, the first thing that stands out is his head. It's still vac metallized, but now gold instead of silver, meaning he looks less like a robot now and more like an Oscar. Also, this head is ball jointed so it can move up and down as well as side to side, unlike the original. The second thing that catches your eye is that he's got a cape.
Well, half a cape, really.
It only attaches to one shoulder and doesn't cover his entire back. Still, it looks nice and is made of actual cloth, so I appreciate the effort that went into this. Version 2 is just as tall as the first, so it also continues that tradition. Plus, this one looks a bit bulkier, like he's got more muscles and didn't skip leg day.
One thing is very different.
The plunging neckline is gone, meaning he looks less like he belongs in a 70s disco. There's also far less red on the figure itself, just the ascot in fact, and just a hint of silver on the legs and upper chest. The silver on the legs can be a bit of a problem, as it's not too difficult to rub off, leading to lots of figures out there with paint wear. Same goes for the gold on his belt. And I didn't mention this with the first version, but those silver and gold heads can get dull over time, losing their shine. Version 2 came with just one accessory, a golden sword that could attach to a hook on his waist. While it makes him look very regal together with the cape, it's a pity that it's stuck in the sheath, as it's just one molded piece of plastic. It would have been better if he came with a second unsheathed sword.
Oh, and yes, I'm aware that he came with a vehicle, Destro's a spoiler, but since I'm handling vehicles and figures separately, that's a review for another time.
Overall, this is an excellent update of the original, while still having his own distinct look. As far as I'm concerned, this was another triumph. Of course, some fans may have been disappointed the neckline and collar were gone.
But believe me, Hasbro has got you covered with the next version.
So meet Destro version 3. This figure was released in 1992 with all original body parts. And holy crap, they freaking doubled down when it came to the collar, didn't they? They went full anime with this one. This version is a hybrid of the first two, the best of both worlds.
Or the worst of both worlds, depending on your view.
It's got the buffness of version 2 with the aesthetic of the first, though both are exaggerated. The most disappointing thing about this figure is that his head is no longer shiny. They opted for the far cheaper silver paint instead of the vac metallizing process. And while this does mean he now has actual eyes you can see, and he has an actual expression on his face now, a stern one, the lack of chrome does take something away from the character.
Still, that color!
You could sell it to a water park as a slide attraction. Another difference with the previous versions is that this one is shorter, meaning he's the size of an average G.I. Joe figure of the time. Which is fine when put next to those figures, but makes him look like their little brother here. Detailing wise, I'd say he's on par with the others, but nothing really stands out.
When it comes to his accessories, there's something interesting there.
He has a rifle that looks a lot like the ones Cobra troopers and officers sometimes used in the Sunbow cartoon, but wasn't an accessory for their figures. By 1992, the Sunbow series was long gone, so this is a weird homage, but a welcome one. He also came with a disc launcher that really launched discs.
It's stupid. Moving on.
One last thing I want to say is that you have to be kinda careful if you try to find one on the secondary market, as this figure is almost identical to version 6 from 2001. The easiest way to tell them apart is that the modern version has red detailing on his arms and legs, and he's got orange shoulder pads instead of red ones.
Still, they're easy to mix up.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I've used the 2001 version by mistake in an old video of mine, and nobody noticed. Overall, it's an okay figure, but doesn't measure up to the previous ones. Personally though, I like the head, and use one on the body of a version 2. I think it looks pretty neat like that. There was one more Destro figure in the original line. Does it hold up to the good quality of the previous entries?
No, it doesn't, because it's this one.
Meet Destro version 4. This figure was released in 1993 with some original body parts and was part of the Armortech line of figures from the Star Brigade line of G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he's part of a sub-team of a sub-team, if you can believe that.
He shares the legs and right arm of the Bat that came out the same year, since they're both from 1993. I guess they both have all original parts then?
You know what? It doesn't matter. Let's move on.
Let's start with the positive. The vac metallized head is back.
That's it. That's the only positive thing.
I mean, he looks like a Microman had a baby with a Transformer, for God's sake.
Okay, fine.
One more positive thing. The color scheme, red, black and silver, is on brand with Destro's previous looks, so that's nice, but that really is about it. His left arm is a missile launcher. Where is his actual left arm supposed to be? It won't fit in there.
So, does he have it crammed against his torso or something?
And then how does he even operate a rocket launcher? Positive thinking? Looking at it more as a toy, Armortech figures had limited articulation compared to what we had come to expect from G.I. Joe figures. There's no ball joints anywhere, not in the shoulders, not in the thighs, and the one elbow joint only moves up and down. Also, the head only moves side to side, and it barely even does that, so I don't think that's an homage to the 1983 one. Though, looking at the head, I do have to concede there's one more positive thing. Even though it's vac metallized, the eyes are actually colored in on this version, so I'll begrudgingly give some kudos for that.
And that really is it. This isn't leading up to some big twist where it turns out that I actually like this figure. Armor tech sucks and it's stupid.
The accessories are further proof of that. They're generic weapons on a plastic tree that are cheap and just weird. The only unique one is the helmet, which frankly looks like a fishbowl. Also, over the years it can get its own brand of yellowing plastic, making it harder to see through. It kinda makes it look like he's got a golden head. Yeah, of all the 4 toys Destro got in the original line, this one is the worst. And that would be kind of a downer to end on, so we're not gonna do that.
I'll briefly talk about one more figure from the 80s that used Destro's mold. And who is that?
They called him the Jackal.
Meet the Red Jackal. This figure was released in 1984 by Palitoy Toys in the UK and Europe with no original body parts. And yes, I am using pictures from eBay because screw paying that much for a slight paint redeco. Hey, if any of you want to drop that kind of cash on a figure like this, more power to ya.
It's just not high on my own collecting priority list.
The only differences are that his color is white now, and they painted his magnificent bare chest red, with the Red Shadow skull and crossbones logo on it. If anything, it makes him look like a pirate. This figure is a neat little curiosity, and is a completely different character from the Destro the Baroness knows and loves.
Or is he? We might swing back to that later this month when we talk about the character.
Meanwhile, those were the figures from the original toy line. The worst, and I cannot state this enough, is the Armor Tech version.
The best? Well, that's much harder to decide for me.
I really like both the original and the second version. Right now, I'm leaning towards the first, but if you'd ask me again in a few weeks, I may have changed my mind. Version 3 is just sorta there. Do let me know in the comments below what your own favorite version is. Next time, we'll take a look at a large selection of the more modern versions.
I did debate with myself if I should include the 1997 version in this video, but that would mean I'd have to talk about him. And I'm leaving that for later. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. American hero. Fighting evil Destro. Introducing Destro.